Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. The topic for today's webinar is Advancing Solar for Manufactured Homes Through Community Solar. This webinar is being presented by the Clean Energy States Alliance, and we've got an exciting cast of speakers on the line today. Before I pass it over to them, I'd like to go over a few very quick webinar logistics. All of our attendees are in listen-only mode. You've got a couple of options to join the audio portion of the webinar. You can call in via telephone or connect via your computers, mic, and speakers. If you'd like to minimize the webinar console so that you can view the presentation full screen, you can do that by clicking on the orange arrow that you see circled there on your slide here. And you can also click on that arrow to expand your webinar console. And one thing you may like to do with your webinar console is to submit your questions and your comments. We'll be saving about 15 minutes at the end of our webinar for a Q&A with the audience, and we'll get to as many questions as we can. So please do type your questions in when you think of them. And a final note for you, this webinar is being recorded. We'll send you a copy of the webinar recording and a link to the PDF of the webinar slides. We'll probably get that out to you within the next day or two. And we'll be posting all of those materials on CISA's website at cisa.org/webinars. And that's a good URL to know because that is also where we post all of our upcoming and archived webinars. So with that out of the way, I will now pass it over to our webinar moderator, my colleague Wafa Elamin. Wafa is a project manager here at the Clean Energy States Alliance, and she will get us started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar on advancing solar through community solar for manufactured homes. As Sam mentioned, my name is Wafa May. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a project manager here at CISA. And if you all don't know what CISA is, CISA, the Clean Energy States Alliance, is a national nonprofit coalition of public agencies and organizations that are working together to advance clean energy. At CISA, we work with state leaders, federal agencies, industry partners, representatives, and other stakeholders to develop clean energy programs and inclusive renewable energy markets. CISA members, who are mostly state agencies, include many of the most innovative, successful, and influential public funders of clean energy initiatives in the country. And you can see some of our members highlighted here on this slide. Next slide, please. So this project is under CISA Scaling Up for Solar for Under-Resourced Communities project. This project is an initiative to accelerate the development of solar projects that benefit low and moderate income households and communities. It focuses on 3 distinct subsets of the LMI solar market, including single-family homes, manufactured homes, the topic of this learning network event, and multifamily affordable housing, and it's made possible through funding award from the U.S. Department of Solar Energy Technologies Office. Next slide. So a little bit of background. A lot of the subject matter from today's webinar that I'll be sharing comes from CISA's report that we published last year, Solar for Manufactured Homes, an assessment of the opportunities and challenges in 14 states. I'll talk a little bit more about what are the findings from that report and share some community solar projects with you all later on. And for this part of the project, there is a working group that is currently open to state agencies and utilities who want to explore advancing solar for manufactured homes and look at potential pilot programs and projects that they can develop. Next slide. So joining me today for this presentation is Ariel Drehobl. Ariel supports the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Energy Technologies Office National Community Solar Partnership and its efforts to advance state-level community solar policy and technical assistance. Ariel is a nationally recognized leader on equitable clean energy policies and programs, and she has authored over 15 publications and presented at more than 40 conferences and events prior to this. Prior to this position, Ariel worked as a manager at the American Council for Energy Efficient Economy, where she led research and technical assistance related to energy equity, energy affordability, community-led clean energy, and low-income energy efficiency programs. Ariel has a Bachelor of Arts in History and International Studies from Northwestern University, and she has a Master's of Science in Environmental Science, Policy, and Management from a joint degree program that is awarded from the Central European University in Hungary, Lund University in Sweden, and the University of Manchester in United Kingdom. And with that, I'll pass it on to Ariel, who's going to present a little bit more about the National Community Solar Partnership and community solar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wafa. I'm so happy to be here today. Apologies, folks, that I'm not on camera. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm called in right now. All right. Well, if you go to the next slide. So as Wafa said, I'm going to start us off today with an overview of what community solar is, why it's important, and how the U.S. Department of Energy is working to ensure that community solar is affordable, accessible, and beneficial to all households. So I'm going to kick us off with setting the stage on what we mean by community solar. If you go to the next slide, we have a definition of community solar here. So the U.S. Department of Energy uses a big tent approach to its community solar definition, in that we define community solar as any solar project or purchasing program in which the benefits of the project flow to multiple customers or end users. This means that as long as there's multiple folks who are receiving the benefits of the project, such as households, businesses, or others, then we would classify this as community solar. And if you go to the next slide, in order to better visualize this, community solar projects, they generate energy, and then subscribers pay the host of a solar array for their share of the project. The electricity that's generated will flow through the meter to the utility grid, where each utility will assign a dollar value to the electricity produced from that solar array. Then the subscriber will receive a credit for the value of the solar energy produced on their monthly bill, either through a consolidated bill or a separate billing process. We recognize that there's a variety of business models and ownership structures for community solar, and at the Department of Energy, we don't want to be prescriptive about the how that community solar is developed, and instead we really want to focus on more of the what, so the benefits of community solar, and ensuring that those meaningful benefits are flowing to subscribers and to communities. So when we're thinking about these benefits, we're considering how community solar reduces energy burden, provides low to moderate income households with access, increases resilience, provides opportunities for community ownership of clean energy assets or other community wealth building opportunities, and supports local workforce development. You go to the next slide, please. So why community solar? The National Renewable Energy Laboratory has gathered data on the opportunity for community solar and found that about 49% of households are not able to host a solar PV system on their roof because either they don't own their building, they're renters, or they don't have sufficient roof space, or they live in buildings with roofs that just don't get adequate sunlight or other features that make it not suitable for solar panels. It's likely that rooftop solar is out of reach for an even larger portion of U.S. households when we take into account the ability to afford the upfront cost of installing solar panels on your home. Despite this need, community solar, which can provide solar to those who cannot install solar on their roofs, still represents less than 5% of total solar capacity nationally, and only about 1% of community solar, so 1% of this 5%, is currently prioritized for low-income households. If you go to the next slide, please, on state community solar markets. Right now, we have about 5 gigawatts of community solar across about 1,900 projects in 40 states. And the market is increasingly growing, yet is concentrated in states that have enabling legislation for community solar, as well as programs to support the growth of community solar. In terms of low-income community solar, most states that have enabling legislation, which you can see on the map here on the right, include provisions to support low-income access. These policies include often additional incentives or carve-out requirements for low-income households to have access to the benefits of community solar. Some states are also developing low-income community solar in states that don't have enabling legislation. For example, Florida Power and Light and Duke Energy in Florida are developing low-income community solar programs. And we're seeing that states are continuing to pass new policies to support low to moderate income solar access, such as in New Mexico, which recently passed a community solar program requiring that 30% of households served are low income, and in New Jersey, which just made its program permanent and requires 40% of projects served at least 51% low income households. If we go to the next slide, I'm now going to give a brief overview of the Department of Energy's National Community Solar Partnership Program, of which I support at DOE. The National Community Solar Partnership is run through the Solar Energy Technologies Office, which has the goal of transitioning to an equitable energy system that is fully decarbonized by 2050, starting with a decarbonized power sector by 2035. The National Community Solar Partnership is one of the original 21 pilot programs for the Justice 40 initiative, which is a whole of government approach to provide a pathway for equitable deep decarbonization that transforms communities and builds wealth. Again, Justice 40 is also interested in how the benefits of clean energy are distributed, with a particular focus on what the executive order terms as disadvantaged communities, and how to ensure that benefits are flowing to these historically underserved and overburdened communities. And the National Community Solar Partnership operates with three main areas of work. The first is data tracking in the form of tracking and publishing data on the community solar market over time. The second is collaboration, which we do through an online platform, stakeholder collaboratives, and other peer-to-peer networking opportunities. And third, for the NCSP, is technical assistance, which is free to any and all stakeholders who are looking to develop or expand community solar markets. I'll flag here that it is easy and free to join the National Community Solar Partnership. Hopefully maybe Wafa can drop a link in the chat to where you can join, but it just involves filling out a form online, and then you have access to this online platform as well as to our technical assistance. If you go to the next slide, it has an overview of the online platform. Right now, we actually have over 1,200 partners working with us across all 50 states. Again, it's easy to join, just requires filling out a form. And we have stakeholders across all of these different groups here and opportunities for folks to engage, learn from one another, and access our technical assistance. And if you go to the next slide, about a year ago, the Department of Energy set a target that community solar capacity increase to 20 gigawatts in order to power the equivalent of 5 million households, which would include bill reductions, increasing to about 20% on average for a cumulative savings of $1 billion by 2025. This is a massive goal. This is a 700% increase from where we were when the goal was set. And the National Community Solar Partnership is building on a bunch of different efforts and pathways in order to achieve this goal and to get 5 million households on community solar by 2025. The next slide is our pathway to success. So these are the activities that through stakeholder engagement that the National Community Solar Partnership conducted last year, we identified 5 key strategies in order to move forward to achieving the goal in terms of how the federal government and the Department of Energy can best support the expansion of community solar in equitable ways. I'm going to briefly walk through each of these to give you an overview, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions after the presentation. So moving on to the next slide, the first area of work that we have for the National Community Solar Partnership is our Technical Assistance Program. So our direct TA program provides on-demand assistance at no cost to any National Community Solar Partnership partner. The partner just submits a brief application online through that portal that you can sign up for, which is then reviewed by our team. And then the applicant is paired with one of our TA providers which includes the National Renewable Energy Lab and Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, as well as a suite of third-party technical assistance providers. TA typically falls into one of the categories listed here on this slide, but we welcome applications outside of these subject areas as well. And I'll just say that we see a lot of applications from organizations who are really trying to innovate in the community solar space and work to find or develop the resources to support this advancement. So if folks on the call today are interested in digging more into models for community solar for manufactured housing or for other key areas, and there are research questions or things that we could support you on, please apply for our technical assistance. Moving to the next slide is our states collaborative. So understanding that in order for state markets to really expand, we need that enabling legislation and other policies in place. We have developed a states collaborative, which is working right now with over 30 states and territories to facilitate peer-to-peer learning and technical assistance to help states advance their community solar markets and track progress towards their goal. So we have 15 states who are officially signed on as working with us through this collaborative, and we have been digging specifically into subtopics such as low income access, community ownership, and resilience. Next slide, please. The National Community Solar Partnership is also working on developing an online marketplace to bring together lenders and philanthropy with standardized lending guidance in order to help especially small community-based solar developers have access to financing and capital needed to develop community solar. So we really want to open up the market, expand the market, and also make community solar development accessible to especially community-based developers. We're working right now on developing a learning lab in partnership with the University of New Hampshire, which will help community-based organizations and small developers leverage this funding. If you go to the next slide, our next major initiative is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Community Solar Subscription Platform. So during our stakeholder engagement last year, we heard that low-income access to community solar that reduces high energy burdens in the long term is a major challenge. Developers often face barriers to low-income customer acquisition for the development of low-income community solar installations. Overall, low-income community solar isn't being developed fast enough to meet the demand, and customers of LIHEAP, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program in particular, could really benefit from lower cost energy. So to address this barrier, the U.S. Department of Energy is partnering with the Department of Health and Human Services, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, and the National Association of State Energy Officials in order to develop an online platform that will help connect LIHEAP recipients with available community solar subscriptions that have verified energy savings and that will lower energy bills over time. Right now, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory is going to be building this online platform, and we're going to be piloting it initially in 3 states, Illinois, New Mexico, and DC, as well as working closely with Colorado, New Jersey, and New York on the development. We plan to do a lot of stakeholder engagement this fall, build out the platform early next year, and then pilot in 2023 as well, and then are aiming to expand the platform to additional states. I'll also flag that we currently have a request for information out. The link is on the slide here with a deadline of this Friday, where we're asking for interested partners to provide their input on how we should develop this platform so that it has the greatest impact. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to please complete this RFI by Friday so that your feedback can be incorporated into this project. If you go to the next slide, next is our focus on the meaningful benefits of community solar. So again, we're really looking to find ways to incorporate these benefits into the outcomes that come from community solar. And then if you go to the next slide that has upcoming opportunities, this slide shows a few places where you can dig in more to the National Community Solar Partnership. And as part of that push to encourage those meaningful benefits, we actually have a prize out right now called our Sunny Awards for Equitable Community Solar. This award is open to both community solar projects and programs that include meaningful benefits in their development, such as low-income access, bill savings, resilience, community ownership, workforce development, authentic community engagement, and other equitable innovations. There's going to be 50 semifinalists who will receive $1,000 each, and 5 finalists will receive $10,000 as well as additional special recognition categories. State programs are eligible, so I encourage states to apply as well as other developers of community solar. Nominations are due on October 7th with supporting documentation. You can check out the links on the slide to learn more and to watch an informational webinar. We're also going to be having our next National Community Solar Partnership Summit this coming January. So please sign up to join the partnership and stay tuned for more information. And I believe next is my last slide. Again, just encouraging you to sign up. The link is on the slide here. And now I'm going to turn it over to Wafa to speak more about how community solar is benefiting folks in manufactured housing. And I look forward to answering your questions. Feel free to reach out to me as well after the webinar if you want to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ariel. That was so helpful, and I hope please do enter your questions directly into the question box. We'll be more than happy, hopefully, to spend some time at the end of this presentation to take some more questions. So what I'm going to do now is dive a little bit more and share some community solar for manufactured homes examples that we see in our Solar for Manufactured Homes report. But also, before I do that, I want to give you all a little bit of background. Sam, if you could advance to the next 2 slides ahead. Just as a reminder, this is part of the Scaling Up Solar project. And what we did for this project, the Solar for Manufactured Homes report comes in 2 volumes. The first volume is a national study for solar for manufactured homes and provides a landscape assessment of the solar for manufactured housing market and shows where these homes are located across the country. It explains the general obstacles that to solar access by low and moderate income communities, as well as additional challenges specifically to installing solar PV on manufactured housing. The second volume of the report does a deeper dive into the 14 states, being Arizona, California, Georgia, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. The states examined in this report really shows how these different housing markets and what their solar policies and landscapes are that kind of open up and expand room for solar for manufactured homes. Additionally, there was a third addendum to the report that kind of has an overall summary to the solar for manufactured homes. That second volume, just as a quick snapshot. I know it's a lot to get through, so hopefully this will kind of give you all a sense of what to expect in there. And part of this project, people are also able to join the Solar for Manufactured Homes Working Group, which is comprised of state agencies, not only state energy agencies, and utilities to really explore further on solar for manufactured homes. Next slide. So to share a little bit more about the purpose of the report, it really allows us to understand how to power manufactured homes using solar. And this is a big potential solar market that has received little attention, specifically within the LMI solar development. This is a housing market sector that's often ignored across a lot of programs, not only clean energy programs. So really addressing manufactured homes would fill a really big gap that we're seeing. The report does that deep dive on 14 states, which really will allow a big analysis and kind of a big picture of what other states look like to gain some best practices and background from that. The report also led to the development of this learning network that's hosting this event right now, and the working group of state agencies and utilities to further explore how to advance manufactured homes, and really taking a look at how accelerating the development of LMI solar projects through manufactured homes can really advance that really quickly and help meet some of the goals that Ariel outlined with the Community Solar, National Community Solar Partnership. So a little bit of background of how the information from the report. It was compiled for manufactured homes, communities, and mobile parks that use DataComp proprietary database, which is the largest provider of manufactured homes value reports and appraisal reports. It reports on the location size, rental size, housing costs, and other characteristics specific to manufactured homes in their communities. There's information in there from about 24,391 communities in the 14 target states. And just keep in mind, this information has been collected over time, so it's not all current. And like I mentioned before, manufactured homes is a housing stock that's been often ignored, so the data might not all be there and comprehensive. We linked that data comp data to the overall US Census household income data and also overlapped that with utility service territories. So for those 14 states, you're really able to see where those manufactured homes fall under specific utility territories and how to navigate those. There was also a significant amount of surveys and interviews done with solar installers, as well as gaining that perspective for manufactured homes and households through survey responses from about 170 of them. And once again, there is a significant margin of error in the statistics, but no study to this caliber has done along looking at manufactured homes and solar. So this is really the first time that a picture like that has been painted, and hopefully those of you on the line and in the audience will really take advantage of navigating more and expanding on solar for manufactured homes. Just to give you all a little bit of a background, there's more information in the report on this, but this map right here is a snapshot of kind of showing how manufactured homes look across the nation. The light blue is where there's a lighter concentration, and the darker blue is where we see more housing stock that's comprised of manufactured homes. And as you can see, there's a dramatic difference across all the states. And one thing to keep in mind is the total housing stock in the nation, about 1 to 17% of them is manufactured homes. So this brings us to the point, why solar for manufactured homes, right? LMI solar is essential for equity and to ensure solar retains public support across all different home types, homeowners, and backgrounds, including those in manufactured homes. Manufactured homes already experience relatively high energy burdens, so increasing the access of solar to manufactured homes will help reduce that. And when we're talking about this big jump in LMI solar development, the greatest progress for potential is directly with manufactured homes, since there are so many that have been widely untapped to this point. And when we really look at LMI solar, really thinking of it not so much as every single sub-market is one, but really a big picture where manufactured homes, residential, commercial, and multifamily all kind of make up the overall LMI solar market, and really to not ignore any of them. And like I said earlier, a significant share of the housing stock in the nation, about 8.5 million homes, are manufactured homes, which is about 6.1% of the homes nationally. And there's a higher percentage of LMI housing stock that also is comprised of large share of unsubsidized affordable housing. So we see so many LMI homeowners and customers that are in and a part of manufactured homes communities. And one thing is that most of the residents actually own their homes. So they want to increase that kind of ownership and autonomy with the home that they have by adding value to it and making it really comfortable to live in. So this kind of folds more into the barriers that really prompt the need for community solar, right? We've got the general LMI barriers that exist. That initial cost of a PV system is really high. And when we're thinking of low to moderate income, that upfront capital oftentimes isn't there. Another thing is solar has to be risk-free for LMI communities. That just has to be at the top consideration for everything. The next thing is LMI communities, they really don't have an ability to use the federal tax credits. So really navigating around those makes access a lot harder. LMI communities are often ignored by solar marketers and seen as risky and not really worth it. So really just making sure to see how solar and community solar can make it more accessible. And then overall, there's a really big inexperience in navigating the audience that is comprised of LMI communities. So now when we think of those already existing LMI barriers, knowing that there's some additional ones that are kind of advanced, that make it more prominent to really consider community solar. And for manufactured homes, that's many of the roofs cannot support a PV system. Like Ariel shared earlier, a big reason for why people tend to go down the community solar route is because the infrastructure of their homes doesn't support it, and manufactured homes happen to fall under that category. And there is limited space for ground-mounted systems, so having to make sure that community solar subscriptions will make it more accessible for manufactured homeowners to take part of it. And residents in manufactured homes usually don't own the land that they're on. So although they might actually own their home, they don't own the land, so they're not able to make decisions regarding the land changes and modification that kind of are required for solar development. So another thing in the report, it highlights case studies of 9 promising projects, but what I want to do is spend some time right now really just showing you all the 3 community solar projects in the report that bring benefits of solar to manufactured homes. The first one is Mascoma Meadows. It's a community solar project in New Hampshire, located in Lebanon, New Hampshire. And this is the first resident-owned community, or ROC, of about 50 manufactured homes in Colorado to be powered by a community solar array. 45 of the homes in the ROC participate in the solar array, and they experience about $20 to $25 in housing lot rent reduction a month. So instead of those direct bill payments, they kind of see it overall in how much they pay to rent the land that their home is on. So it's located on a half-acre land donated by the neighboring Abundant Life Church of God. So the ROC, Mascoma Meadows resident-owned community, actually initially wanted to purchase that land for $25,000, but the church donated it. That really expedited that process and that community collaboration aspect of that. It includes a few different stakeholders and partners. So once they secured the land, Revision Energy was selected through a competitive bidding process to be the installation partner for that. And Vermont Law School Energy Clinic was provided pro bono legal services and really led the project design, implementation, and kind of seeing it through all the way. And another stakeholder that was involved was the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. That guidance was received from the ROC New Hampshire, which is a program funded under that New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. So a little bit more about that system. It's a 100 kilowatt array of about 384 solar panels. It was installed in November 2018, and it saw interconnection completed in December of that same year. It poses no financial risks for the LMI participants, and they see that $20 to $25 monthly savings on their lot rental. There were also some non-monetary benefits that the community got to see. There was a lot of educational opportunities that really enhanced the residents' understanding and their relationship to energy and their usage, and how that kind of plays a big picture into the overall lowering of carbon emissions. And it really helped to overcome the perception that solar is for more affluent communities, right? It showcased that anyone can have access to solar and really empowered the community to take part in it. Some more information on the financing and costs. It was really able to leverage the investor's ability to take advantage of the federal the investment tax credit that would typically be inaccessible to LMI customers. So the power purchase agreement through Revision Solar Impact, they own the array for 5 years, and after 5 years, which is going to be in 2023, Mascoma Meadows will have the option to purchase the community solar array from the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund through a low interest financing. And additionally to that, another cost that was folded into it was $168,000 grant from the New Hampshire Low to Moderate Income Community Solar Grant Program that's part of the Renewable Energy Fund managed by the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. The next project is Lakeville Village in New York. And this was a project that was initially started in 2017 and broke ground in 2020 and was online in 2021. So this Lakeville Community Project is a community-led community solar project at Lakeville Village, which is a resident-owned community of persons age 55 and above. And this project uses about 10 acres of land that the community owns to develop a 4 megawatt community solar project. So like I mentioned earlier, the Lakeville Village Incorporated purchased about 20 acres, and 10 of those are what are being used for the solar array. It was done in collaboration with Lakeville Village. The community itself felt really empowered to do that after they didn't receive the initial NYSERDA grant that they had applied for in 2017 to kind of take this on. That, you know, they decided to continue on and see how they could make this project happen. And that's when Larson Engineering and Pat Stone, who are engineers in a community development organization that specializes in solar, was able to support Lakeville Village and their team and their board to really do that. And then, sorry about that. And RER Energy Group was selected through a competitive bid process to develop that land, to develop that community solar array. So how that works is RER leased that 10 acres with Lakeville Village for about $850 an acre per year. And that produces 4 megawatts of capacity that not only benefits Lakeville Village, those 45 homes, but also the neighboring community. And what Lakeville Village is able to do with that money that they receive is they kind of turn back and see where they can do additional environmental specific programs, educational opportunities. So it really just created a way to empower them through the land that they have. So this is a picture of Lakeville Village, that those 10 acres before they added the solar. Next, we've got the process. So they had to really clear away a lot of forest land that you see over here in the right picture to flatten it and prepare it for the racking system that would go up and include the solar array. And then this is after the solar was installed. You can see it's a pretty massive project. So yes, the benefits go to the neighboring Lakeville Village manufactured homes community, but it also goes to the church and a few others as well. And those 45 homes are able to subscribe to that. And it's really benefited the community in a lot of ways. The next project that I want to share is a community solar in Colorado, and this is the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park and Low Income Rental Housing. And this is a 100 kilowatt project plus an additional 48 kilowatts in additional subscriptions from a second project that benefited up to 48 manufactured homes. So this is a solar garden pilot for Ponderosa Mobile Home Park, which could be expanded to other manufactured homes and affordable housing communities if it's successful. The city purchased additional subscriptions from Jack's Solar Garden, which is a local privately owned project, to ensure that subscriptions were able to reach all of the residents of Ponderosa Park. So the land where this is located, it's located in municipal land near Boulder Reservoir, which is one of the oldest parks, mobile home parks in Colorado, that really ended up being folded into the overall revitalization plan of the Ponderosa Mobile Home Park. And it's part of about a $4.2 million purchase of the park through Boulder's Affordable Housing Fund that was provided to the U.S. HUD's Community Development Block Grant. So what that did is Boulder noticed that they were really having a housing issue. So they wanted to see how they could fold in manufactured homes into that. So it included partnerships with the city of Boulder, specifically the Energy Impact Offset Fund, which funded a large portion of this project. And it also included the Boulder County Regional Housing Partnership that had set that goal of making 12% of the Boulder's housing inventory affordable to LMI households. And that's where they really saw room to fold in manufactured homes in that. And the second project that was added on to this to make sure that all of the manufactured homeowners within that community can be able to subscribe to that was through Bequest Foundation that provided the low interest loan. And again, Boulder Housing Partners serving as a subscriber on behalf of their residents. So a little bit more about the system size. It's a 100 kilowatt solar garden that provided subscriptions to LMI residents. And the city developed the manufactured housing strategy to identify and implement options specifically for manufactured homes. It revitalized these really old homes that were previously annexed from the city, so they didn't have to deal with some of those restrictions and regulations. So, and it really supports the overall Boulder's goal for 100% renewable electricity by 2030. So overall, this was about a 4.2 million investment from the city's programs and its funds through the HUD grants. And the second project was about 1.2 million from the Bequest Foundation, private equity, and additional grants. So I'll just really summarize really quickly some takeaways from this. There's so many strategies that we can use to advance community solar for manufactured homes. One of the first things is really assessing the manufactured housing stock in that specific state or the utility service territory or co-ops or the munis. And then starting with really small, modest, targeted efforts and produce a track record of success by focusing on some of that low-hanging fruit where manufactured homes happen to be a big low-hanging fruit. So making sure that you can create foundations for projects that are eventually scalable and can scale larger to other, to reach more manufactured homeowners, and really making sure community solar folds in manufactured homes to that. Next thing is really recognizing that special funding or incentives will be absolutely necessary to ensure the financial benefits are flowing directly to the residents. Also, find the best venues for pursuing a solarized community solar strategy that includes community-based education, marketing, and also considering how group discount pricing and how to communicate that out to the homeowners. This can really help address the limited understanding that the residents might have with solar and increase their relationship to solar and make them feel like, hey, this is definitely something that we can do. And then you want to also make sure that you match the large manufactured homes communities and informal subdivisions to community solar projects and strategies. One more thing is really making sure that you targeting resident-owned communities or ROCs and other nonprofit communities such as community land trusts and housing agencies to make sure that manufactured homes are considered for this. And with the ROCs, the land is owned by those residents, so they'll have a lot more autonomy in making decisions regarding that land and adding solar to it. And it's easy to ensure that the savings flow directly to the residents, because that's really what the ROCs are there in place to do, is making sure that looking out for the benefit of the homeowners and the residents. The next thing is promote certain types of large-scale community solar arrays, and knowing that not every single model will work for every single community. So seeing what's out there, what exists, where subscriptions can be expanded to really support those large-scale arrays. And sometimes that can include community facilities and common loads and dedicated projects specifically for manufactured homes communities, and really looking to the residents when seeking to fill these state manufactured homes residents to looking to fill these LMI state community solar mandates. Additionally, you can ensure that consumers are not being placed at financial risk and support efforts that incorporate solar into new manufactured homes. You know, there's about 94,000 new manufactured homes created annually, so there are some limitations to that. But on top of those new manufactured homes, there's already that existing housing stock that's really energy burdened that can also be incorporated in. Next thing is considering third-party ownership, on-bill payments, and other special financing considerations and options that really streamline it for the customers and the homeowners who are going to be paying and being a part of this. So making sure that all of the information is comprehensive, clear, and that there's proper consumer protections that really that the homeowners and residents know about. Great. So I'm seeing one question that has come in from an Ariel. I'm hoping maybe you can answer this about the National Community Solar Partnership and, you know, what joining the partnership looks like and how people can stay connected and look at events that might be coming up.
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So joining the partnership just requires applying online through the link that I had on my slide. When you apply, there are a bunch of fields that you can fill in, such as if you have a community solar goal through your organization or your state, if you have developed any solar, what that capacity is, but you don't have to fill out all of those questions to join. So once you complete that and you join, you have access to this online platform that includes a list of events. We send out a weekly digest that includes upcoming events and opportunities, as well as federal funding opportunities and more information that folks may be interested in. And I'll just flag that folks also use the online platform to pose questions to other folks who are participating. And we also have some subgroups specifically, again, for states, for community solar developers. And in the past, we've had groups for affordable housing and municipal utilities as well. So if you sign up, you'll get more updates on all that's going on with community solar, and I hope many of you do.
Great, thank you so much. I'm seeing another question that has come in that asks this more about the CSA's Solar for Manufactured Homes report. The question reads, does the study also go into energy efficiency in relation to manufactured homes? And that's a really great point, and I'm glad that was asked. So the study itself actually doesn't go into specifically energy efficiency and improvements, but it does talk about how manufactured homes are already just in it. With their structure, they already are energy inefficient. So it talks about where the energy burdens come from and kind of how the manufactured homes are made. But one thing that I do want to point out is solar, in order for manufactured homes to go solar, energy efficiency is really a huge prerequisite in weatherization. So making sure that the home itself, even though it does go solar or is subscribed to solar, making sure that those already really high energy burdens and the sources for where they're coming from can be addressed. So we're seeing a lot specifically for the Solar for Manufactured Homes working group that I'm leading. The state agencies and utilities are really looking to see what does that pipeline look like? Where do homes who kind of go through the weatherization and energy efficiency programs, the manufactured homes specifically, how can we make sure that we include them into the overall solar development, whether that be through community solar, residential solar, or looking at some of those unique technologies to quickly identify solar eligible homes to expand into projects. So I think that that's a really interesting point, and hope that through this working group, we'll really be able to see that relational piece, that some of the pilot projects that will be hopefully launched by the states participating, how they kind of look and explore that a little bit more. I think it's a great question. So another question here talks about one of the community solar projects and how, it seems like a lot of them came together, and how do we make sure that something like this is scalable so you can do it without a land donation or pro bono services that kind of come together. And I think what the report does a really great job at highlighting through those case studies is that, it's possible, looking at the foundation that you have in front of you. What are the different stakeholders that kind of play a role? I think that initial preliminary research of really assessing who's involved, who can be involved, really is an advantage. And that kind of ties into the Mobilize platform that Ariel was talking about through the National Community Solar Partnership, is seeing which companies and community solar developers are out there really looking to do more projects and look at site assessments and foundations. So really identifying some partners, I think, is a really great first step to build, to see what's out there, to see what's possible, whether that be having those initial conversations with the utilities and saying, have you all done community solar? Does your community solar projects, do they look at manufactured homes as a component? What's the data that's collected to that? So I really think learning from other examples is a great way to start, but also making the case for some of those services and those donations and funders to say, this is what we're looking at doing, and this is how we're hoping to get it done. Let me see. These are great questions. Please keep them coming. I'm trying to make sure that, and if I don't get to all of these questions, or there's some specific ones that are related to the community solar projects I shared, I'll definitely reach out to the team that has developed that to apply more. So there's a question that says, describe the project in Georgia. So I think that's actually more specifically on the Solar for Manufactured Homes report, the second volume, and the analysis on the 14 states. Georgia is one of those states. So it's a pretty lengthy section that kind of goes into Georgia's solar landscape, where kind of manufactured homes housing stock looks like, where they fall under specific utility territories. And so I definitely recommend, I can link that in the chat, or I think it's also going to be sent back out on these slides where you can access that report, and really look specifically at those 14 states. So I'll repeat again which those 14 states were. It is Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. And let me see, I've got another question for you, Ariel. Could you speak a little more to, I guess, with the National Community Solar Partnership and kind of how it ties into the overall Justice 40 and equity goals? What are some things that that are coming down the horizon to really think about in developing community solar projects and folding in that marginalized, that narrow lens of looking at LMI communities more specifically, and how manufactured homes tie into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I said previously, the National Community Solar Partnership was originally founded or launched in 2016, and it became one of the initial pilot projects for the Justice 40 initiative due to the focus of the NCSP. Right now, we are working to align those meaningful benefits and the goals that we're trying to achieve through community solar development, including the energy bill reduction, low income access, resilience, community ownership, and workforce development. We're tying those in with some of the Justice 40 goals. So they're very well aligned. And we see that the National Community Solar Partnership as a program that is supporting Justice 40 and its goals, especially around the community ownership piece, especially around the low income access and benefit piece. Moving forward, we are looking in the future for more ways to address some of the barriers, especially to low income access and bill savings with these meaningful benefits. And I think targeting or doing work specifically to ensure that folks who reside in manufactured housing have equitable access to community solar is really important. And that's a group, as Wafa has demonstrated through the research that CISA's done, that has a lot of barriers to access for community solar. So moving forward into the next years, we'll be looking to do additional community engagement, and we'll have additional opportunities to lower those barriers and to help more folks have access to community solar. If folks want to connect, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to hear suggestions that you have. And you can do that also by joining the partnership and joining the Mobilize platform, as Wafa also suggested.
Great, thank you. I have another one for you, Ariel. This is more specifically about the TA through the National Community Solar Partnership. Someone is wondering, if a city applies for a community solar technical assistance through the National Community Solar Partnership, how long would it take to know their application is accepted or not, and to what extent of the TA could be offered for folks to kind of consider that?
That's a good question. So right now, our TA program is rolling technical assistance. So we take applications in as they come on a case-by-case basis. We'll review them, I believe, weekly to identify if they meet the criteria for technical assistance from us. So if you were to apply, you would likely hear back pretty quickly, like within a week or two, about to set up a call to talk through in more detail if your technical assistance moves forward through our program. And in terms of the technical assistance is all no cost. You would be matched with the appropriate technical assistance provider. We work with the national labs as well as a number of other partners who have different areas of expertise. And we would help scope out what the technical assistance product would look like and would work with you on that. So I do encourage folks to apply. We want to be doing more technical assistance. We want to be helping folks address the barriers they're facing to expanding community solar with meaningful benefits. So if you have any questions about how to apply, please let me know. In order to apply, you do need to join the National Community Solar Partnership, and the application form is within the Mobilize platform online.
Great, and there's so many great questions. I'll take one more and then we'll close us out. This is a really good one. So resident-owned manufactured homes, communities, or parks are a tiny percentage of manufactured homes, communities in the country. The person asked, how do we plan to reach out to the vast majority of those privately owned manufactured homes, parks, and communities? And I think this webinar is an example of that. You know, the National Community Solar Partnership is a way to really just expand networks and to show people that, you know, manufactured homes can be considered for advancing solar. And like I mentioned earlier, CESA does have a learning network of varied and interested stakeholders who are looking to really explore and learn more about how to expand manufactured home development in the solar market. So I think there's just a lot of ways to really just continue to showcase that. One thing that we're trying to do is present more on the topic of solar for manufactured homes in different spaces and just kind of how it ties into the overall solar deployment and making sure energy access and solar access is reachable to all. So, you know, if you have any folks who you can think of would be great additions to that. This is our 4th learning network event and the rest are archived, which you'll be able to access. So definitely feel free to email me and I'm happy to get that information out to you. And we've got just a minute left. So really wanted to thank you all for attending our webinar today. And these are great questions. So whichever ones I didn't get to, I'll send back a reply, hopefully compiling some of the answers to everyone. And really excited to see how many people are interested about the topic of solar for manufactured homes and how to advance solar through community solar projects. So thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a great afternoon.